We move through our lives with a sense of confident control, believing that every turn we take is the result of a deliberate, rational choice. But the world's most effective influencers, from high-level politicians to master manipulators, operate on the knowledge that this sense of logic is largely a convenient fiction. Dark psychology is the mechanical study of human vulnerability, focusing on the specific points where our decision-making hardware is easiest to breach. Direct force creates immediate resistance. True control requires a cognitive bypass, skipping the brain's analytical centers and hijacking the decision through the faster, unfiltered emotional circuitry. Over the next few minutes, we are going to look at the exact structural flaws in the human mind that allow others to steer your actions without you ever feeling a nudge. Understanding this bypass is the only way to realize that your own biological wiring is currently being used as a tool for your own subversion. Humans have a biological imperative for autonomy, but that same ego makes our behavior remarkably easy to predict. The master of choice doesn't tell you what to do, they design the parameters. Instead of asking for help, they ask if you'd prefer paperwork or logistics. Focused on this internal debate, you are funneled into a predetermined outcome. This exploit goes deeper with the reverse trap. This occurs the moment you are explicitly told you are prohibited from doing something. The restriction acts as a catalyst, bypassing logical assessment and triggering an immediate, ego-driven impulse to prove you possess the agency to act anyway. In both tactics, the target feels a surge of independence, unaware that the entire environment was engineered to make that choice inevitable. Under the cognitive bypass, critical decisions are executed based on how you feel in a single second, not on the data you've collected over a lifetime. On a macro scale, politicians use fear, anger, or tribal pride to induce a state of high arousal. In that state, the brain's logical defenses are effectively offline, leaving the voter to follow the emotional signal. This same mechanism works on an interpersonal level through the guilty trap. If a friend is neglecting the relationship, a direct demand for their time usually triggers a defensive counterargument. They will list every reason they are busy to protect their self-image. Instead, the manipulator uses an emotional mirror. By saying, "If I were a priority, you'd find the time," they weaponize the target's latent guilt. The target now feels an internal pressure to resolve that discomfort. They apologize and self-correct voluntarily, convinced they are acting on their own moral compass. By dictating the immediate emotional environment, the manipulator ensures that the target's own mind does the heavy lifting of changing their behavior. Human biology is fundamentally intolerant of uncertainty. Our brains are hardwired to resolve an information vacuum as quickly as possible. This makes silence a highly aggressive psychological tool. It creates a void that the other person's brain feels a physical need to fill. When you respond to a statement with a silent, steady gaze, the target's internal noise begins to spike. Their brain begins to manufacture self-doubt and anxiety to explain the lack of feedback. To stop the tension, the target will often confess, over-explain, or lower their own price. They are no longer negotiating with you. They are negotiating with their own escalating discomfort. While most people try to exert power through speech, the true advantage belongs to the observer, who uses silence to let the target's own mind do the work of dismantling their position. Logic is often the first thing we forget, but the emotional imprint of an interaction, how we were made to feel, becomes a permanent part of our memory. This is why these tactics are so pervasive. When the bypass is successful, the victim will fight to the death to defend a decision they believe they reached through pure independent reason. However, recognizing these patterns as mechanical processes changes the dynamic. You shift from being a participant in an emotional drama to being an observer of a system. Identifying these structural setups, the framed choices, the guilt mirrors, the strategic silences, creates a necessary friction point. This awareness forces the brain to slow down, making it significantly harder for an external impulse to skip past your logical centers and trigger an automated response. Protecting your free will requires mastering the vulnerabilities of your own mind. By understanding the game, you can finally step off the board as a pawn and become the one who sees the entire grid.